Johannes is helping to set up two seats here on the front. We will use the next 25 minutes. As I said, we've sacrificed five minutes for this to bring on a donor perspective. We had all sorts of different perspectives, and as we've seen many times on this slide on the front, the German WASH Network is very happy to have our government on board as well. We've been long-standing partners and friends, I think, with our German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, who at the beginning, at some point, also addressed to sort of us, it would be much nicer to have sort of a coordinated group of CSOs to talk to. It would be nice to, yeah. So basically, the idea for having our network form as German WASH Network was almost, I would say, a collaborative idea. For us, it's great because we exchange knowledge with each other, but also in sort of dialogue with the ministry, it is, I think, very helpful. So I call on the stage two individuals, Dr. Tania Rödiger Vorwerk, who's Deputy Director General for Sustainable Development, Natural Resources, Economic Issues and Infrastructure at our ministry BMZ. She's the former Head of Division for Planning and Policy and post-2015 Agenda UN, and a doctorate in European Environmental Law. Welcome. Please come up. Secondly, Dr. Stefan Schmitz. We've already, those individuals that were here on the first day have met him already, Director of the Special Initiative One World No Hunger that BMZ has initiated. And he's the head of the Division for Rural Development, Global Food Security, former head of Division Rural Development and World Food Supply in the Federal Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Consumer Protection. And he's worked with various federal authorities and the OECD Secretariat in Paris. He's studied geography and mathematics, and we're looking forward to have you both on stage. One of the challenges I see from the outside, looking at the ministry, when I sort of see the split up, how it's set up, is that I think you are sort of in different branches of the ministry. So I'd hand over the floor, maybe first of all, to both of you to sort of explain what are your what is your realm of. I've expressed it through a title, but maybe so people understand a little bit more the ministry setup and how WASH and nutrition is reflected within the ministry. If that's okay, the microphones are up there.
Well, ministry is normally a very huge organization, and you can have a picture in your head. I have a terrible cold, so I hope you can understand me. I think 2 years ago we have been in the same branch of the ministry, and it's the division. It's the area where the sustainability issues are based in, and the minister, which is for this decade, this 4 years, the minister, he decided that the question of ending hunger is very important, and so he pulled out Stefan and his unit and developed it very largely. So they have a kind of overarching task, and probably you can explain better, because the next step was that they moved it to another part of the ministry.
Yes, right, and the reason for that was the minister launched. Actually, he launched 3 initiatives at the beginning of the legislature. 3 initiatives. One is on refugees, displacement, and that issue. One focusing on North of Africa, and the one on ending hunger. And we labeled that the One World No Hunger Initiative. And then I was, from that time, I'm in charge. I'm the commissioner for that for that special initiative. So leading the work at the Ministry for food security, rural development, and agriculture. And it is, has become, indeed, as Tania said, one of the prominent initiatives and works and tasks of the ministry. 20% of the budget of BMZ goes into that field of work: food security, agriculture, rural development in particular.
So I feel that shows that there's already an integrated approach in the ministry. It takes some time until a huge unit like that is running their program like they want. But I feel this is a good time for a forum discussion today, because you have brought some initiatives on the way, and the issue of water is mostly integrated there.
Yes, we launched that initiative is bringing together all our activities, all of the intervention ongoing in that field, all the things we did in the past, plus additional new activities. We had got extra money for that, considerable amount of money. And then we identified certain areas of work where we thought additional input, things we did not do so far. That was not business as usual. We started with that additional funding. And in general, we identified 3 areas. And I start with the food security one. We reinvented the integrated food security programming at the ministry. It has completely gone for the last 10, 20 years. The other area is on agricultural innovation. That as well could be interesting for the issue we are discussing here. And the third one is on resource management and resource equity and rights, and with a special focus on soil protection, soil rehabilitation and land. But first, let me focus on that integrated food security programs. We started that huge program with an initial funding of 66 million euros. We started integrated programs in 11 countries, 9 in Africa, plus India and Cambodia. And in all these 11 countries, we then took a look. What is a real bottleneck? What needs to be done? What really makes integrated food security? And in almost every of that, the WASH component is integrated. It's part of that. Besides, it's on diversifying agriculture. That is one aspect. Social security. Health and nutrition education is one aspect, health and of course WASH. This is a very important one, and there we make it now very concrete.
Okay. Thank you, and I think it's great that Germany, being one of the biggest donors in these 2 areas, can thereby sort of help us to deal with the issue that we're talking about in these days. Now, I had someone come up to me in the break before and say a lot of times we're mixing maybe too much the food security with the nutrition. So I think in my next question I would like to, if we zoom in a little bit on the nutrition aspect of the One World No Hunger, and on the work that's being done sort of from the ministry on the WASH side, where do you think, what has been done perhaps in terms of collaboration in that field to date, or which are sort of the areas where you see the biggest potentials, maybe also challenges in sort of linking this and being a role model also for others in how you intend to maybe do that? Big question.
Well, starting small. So when we look back, what experience do we have? In the year 2011, we had the Nexus conference here in Bonn. So we started working on the Nexus. This is about the interlinkages between 3 sectorial areas: water, energy, and food. And probably you know that very clearly. So we have several very interesting experiences in this area. So we can use these experiences and to scale it up where it was a well-done project. So we don't have to start from the very beginning. We have in different areas, we have integrated approaches. This is not totally new. It is new to look very, very deep into 2 sectors. That's the new thing, but you can use informations, data, and instruments from other areas or sectors which are already within this nexus picture. So I feel we have a good base, and as far as I see what Stefan and his team is doing, I feel they do this. They use things we have already done. They have a very strong research area, so we have new researches, and we can translate that into politics because we are obliged to deliver.
Yeah, I fully agree. Now we have the great chance to step from theory and pilot projects and knowledge we have into concrete larger projects, scaling that up, bringing that really on the ground, multiply it, and of course at the same time it is important to bring it up politically. I mean it's good to have good projects, because with good projects you can demonstrate that it can work if political will is there, and of course money is there, knowledge, and if you bring that together. But then definitely political will is necessary in partner countries. And from our perspective, as it was already mentioned, I mean the Sun movement is what we see it as one catalytic movement, the leading process from the nutrition side to really to move that whole agenda. Bringing theory, knowledge, practical projects, programming, and the policies and politics together. I mean that is now crucial, and I think we are right on that way. You have to keep in mind that nutrition, food security programs, they completely disappeared. That was non-existent for the last 20 years or so.
From Germany,
yeah, and not alone Germany. I mean, that was all the donor community. They moved out of that, and there was a wake-up call with this food price crisis in 2009, and then slowly started growing political interest into that field. And we moved then from the hunger agenda to the nutrition agenda that is broader. Yeah, the first I was discussing that in the field for years. When it came to food security, first we only discussed production, and then slowly we realized that agricultural production is a sine qua non, but it's not sufficient to end hunger, to overcome hunger. So then we broadened the perspective. Not just we are proud to be able to be one of of the leading donors now in that field. But it's not just us. It's a community of leading donors going that way. And now we're talking about nutrition, and once we really talk about nutrition, then we have to admit and to realize, to acknowledge that this is multi-sectoral, and not only multi-sectoral, but cross-cutting at the same time. And we are going that way. I mean, that's a window of opportunity we have now.
We're about to switch after this panel into the rooms where one of the things we saw were incentives. What incentives can be given to really make a change on the ground in the communities? And the changing global agenda at present has suddenly, it's universal. It's linking these different goals. We're supposed to have cross-linkages. We have targets that suddenly we need to look out of our own silo, because stunting is not only is somewhere else is being impacted by WASH and vice versa. So as a donor, bringing things up on the political agenda, how do you think, what opportunity, where we stand with the SDGs, does this moment give us in a forum like this, where you have the different people here, CSOs, community, and so on? What can we leverage, or what could you contribute to this sort of incentive for linking these issues on the ground in the communities? Maybe too big of a pick and choose of what I've just said that you want to comment on, but.
Well, let me try to answer with two things.
Please.
First, very concrete. I feel to bring to the ground there are really good projects. One of them is the Fit for All, Fit for School project we are doing together with UNICEF. So we have to really define where are the entry points, where can we address children in a very early stage, that they learn what is important for their health. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we have to install the water supply things. That's something infrastructural that just has to be done and to be funded. This is on the very local area. So, but on the highly political level, we have a window of opportunity, of course. We have the SDG agenda now, and the backbone of the SDGs is a cross-cutting issue. So we have to work in future time, and we have to deliver and to see how can we fulfill these SDGs, these targets, and how can we measure it. And when we look into the measuring issues, then we see there are, I will not say 100, but it feels like hundreds of cross-cutting indicators. So as far as I see it within our ministry and in other organizations as well, there is a need to really not to reinvent the wheel, but we have to really to look into our in our portfolio, and we have to sort out and to bring new clusters together. And I feel this is a good thing to do, because everybody has to learn to have a more cross-cutting and overarching political view on the things. And this will be a learning curve for the whole organization, and not only for others, for ours, but for all of them, the United Nations, or wherever you look. We have to do our homework. And this is not totally new, but it will take some time until we have to sort out, well, where's the difference from the working before?
Yeah, I fully agree. And I see, on the one hand, we have to do our homework. We as development cooperation. And there are other things we only can or should do together, in cooperation with civil society and private sector and partner countries, of course. What we, on the one hand, can do, of course, we could better integrate our policies at policy level and at programming level. I mean, but we are right on track of that. That is, it is really encouraging what we achieved over the last 2 years. Complementary research, I think, has a catalytic value, gives better evidence, makes communication better, gives the opportunity to translate it into a broader public and so on. Continue to support civil society work and encourage that different groups of civil society come together. I mean, what we are doing at ministerial level, please bring your communities together. I just I invited you yesterday to bring your WASH community to our multi-stakeholder group dealing with food security and nutrition. That is something we could. Yeah, we can improve that links. And what we have to do. You already mentioned UNICEF, and so we are part of a multilateral community, and it's absolutely important to set the agenda there, set the political agenda, make progress with SUN, UNICEF, WFP, and other key players, key institutions. That's important. But beyond that. It is not that it's not something we can solve from only the nutrition community side and only from the WASH community side. We need to identify and we need to address change agents in complete other areas. For example, what about urban planning? That is, for example, that is crucial where these things come together. The urban planners, the urban designers, they have to add to the practice. Rule development as well. Yeah? That is, rule development per se is on integrating issues. Education. It is a challenge for the education sector, not just for the food and nutrition sector and not just for the water and sanitation. No, it's an education. And give another example on what about the architects? Architects, they should know how to do it. And we need dialogue with that kind of people. That is my understanding of cross-cutting action.
Thank you. I've failed to involve, obviously, the floor quick enough. I would like to look around and see if there is a hand or two that would like to still raise a question in this block. Okay, we've got Tori here, and then our colleague from Simavi.
Thank you, Tori from WaterAid. It's very interesting to hear how the setup is for you in Germany. I work with the EU institutions, and my experience is that there's no real meaningful dialogue between the nutrition teams and the WASH teams not even on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. And I'd like to hear from you how you get people to speak to each other. Like, is it in people's job descriptions, for example? Are WASH teams measured, their success, is it measured against whether they speak to a nutrition person? Because it feels like with a lot of other sectors, for example, gender equality, people are held to accountable in terms of their objectives. So do you do that, or how do you make sure that teams are speaking?
Thank you for the question, Tori. We'll take a second question. Please pass the microphone forward.
Yes, Elke Spijksma from Simavi, Netherlands. It came to my mind that donor coordination may be also something that is in the way of combining these two themes. Because it seems to me that some donors are taking up only one of these issues. So I'm happy to hear that here in Germany, at least, nutrition and WASH are taken up both as teams for international cooperation. But in the Netherlands, focus is on WASH and on agriculture. So they do take food security into account, but nutrition is not seen on the agenda. And I think there are also countries where they only have one of those themes on the agenda, and they focus all their funds on one of these themes. So it came to my mind that donor coordination is also something that we need to look into if we want to look for combined funds.
Okay, thank you for those questions.
Regarding the job description, for example, we commission GIZ to implement these integrated food security programs. It is part of the terms. They have to. It is fixed. That you need of course you need a concrete project, a concrete program, and then you can put it on as job description and make it concrete terms. Donor coordination, yes, of course, not every donor is active in both sectors. But I would like to encourage all donors to step from food security in a more traditional sense to the nutrition perspective. Once a donor has taken that nutrition perspective, the link between WASH and nutrition comes automatically. You cannot address nutrition properly without the WASH perspective. That is simply nonsense.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think at that point I will close this round. I invite you, if you have the time, to come to the working group rooms also, where we will be looking to see how we can take things forward with the groups I introduced before. So please, a round of applause. And thank you very much. We now have these. Yeah, please, I invite you to move back down. Thank you so much. So we'll move now to these workshop rooms, and just like we had it the other day, I ask everyone to make up your mind and then move swiftly to the areas where we are doing this. So here you see the three rooms, the three places where we want to have this take place. I'm not even going to say much more. I introduced the topics before. I ask you to make your choice and move to those rooms where you will receive further instructions. Thank you so much.